Shout out to Cats Pod.
1 second. A good defensive play for Montana State.
Touchdown, Tommy Malone is electrifying.
Welcome to the Cats Pod. What's up, Podcats? How's it going this morning? We decided not to record directly after the game last night. It was late,
super late,
as well as we were kind of in a little bit of a pit of despair moment as fans. So we decided to wait it off, sleep on it, then record this morning.
It was definitely a good call. It was definitely a good call to not record last night. I mean, it was, what was it, midnight by the time it was time for, time that we would have had time to record and not miss any of the games. So, and then, a few little injury scares there at the end of that game. So, yeah, we were overly amped to be recording last night. So here we are this morning.
Yep, it was definitely a good idea to sleep on it a little bit. Overall, I think we're going to go over our picks for this week, at least the Big Sky games that went on over the last few days.
Yeah.
And then we will move on to our thoughts on the Cat game this week and what it's looking like going into the future for us. So what's the first game we got there?
First game, Monmouth, Eastern Washington. Eastern Washington steamrolled them, which is what we expected. I mean, the only real thing to note here is the quarterback, wide receiver combination for Eastern Washington is exactly as advertised.
Yeah.
Efton Chisholm is a stud. So that is definitely going to be something to keep our eye on going forward because he is as advertised.
Yeah.
For sure.
Very good player, and he was solid last year.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the only piece of Eastern Washington that was working when they played the Cats last year. So if he starts cooking and if he has a quarterback that can get the ball to him, it could be a very dangerous game and one to watch out for.
Yeah. But we did pick that game correct. Next, we have San Jose State, Sacramento State, and it was just, I know we were recording while that game was going on.
Yeah.
But it was very weird. It was a weird game. Like Sac State, they did get lucky early, and maybe San Jose State did, maybe overlook them a touch.
Could have.
But Sac State just completely fell apart.
Yeah, I mean, and there was so many turnovers in that game. Both teams were playing super sloppy. What was there, 3 fumbles in a row?
It wasn't good.
Fumbles on 3 consecutive plays. So as soon as San Jose State figured out, like, if we don't hand these people the ball, we're not going to have any problems.
Yeah.
They stopped having problems.
And honestly, we said when we were looking into the, into what this season was going to look like for the entire Big Sky, we brought up Sac State's defense.
Yeah.
And that was a problem. I mean, they just ran out of gas. I mean, they let that quarterback for San Jose State just dice them up and, just could not respond. I mean, they had that Tau Tolliver for Sac State's rushing attack is a stud. So there's another thing to keep an eye on. But I think Sac State's I think this game is kind of what we expected, right?
Yeah. For the most part, I think we actually called it perfectly that they were going to keep it close during the first half. And then San Jose State was going to pull away for like a couple score win. We said it could be similar to the game against the Cats last year that Sac State played.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much like exactly it, except San Jose State got like one more touchdown. So that was like the only real difference there. Eric has decided to click on a phishing email real quick, so he's gonna get a nice little virus on his iPad.
Where did that even come from?
I have no idea. But that's the thing is the Cats Pod, there's so many people trying to shut us down. The Russians are trying to shut us down. They're hacking our computers midstream, different things like that. They really don't want us to be speaking the truths that we're speaking on this podcast.
Well, and I don't even have to try to mess up electronics. So
yeah,
there's that.
You've got me for that. So that's my job.
Yeah,
I'll be the one that makes sure that I screw up those technological aspects.
Next game is Idaho versus Oregon, and that one is not what we expected. Idaho played
Yeah.
really well for the majority. I mean, pretty much all of this game.
Mhm.
I do think Oregon. I don't know that they were really putting their foot on the gas pedal 100%, so to speak.
Yeah.
But Idaho is better than I thought they would be. I knew they were going to be solid.
Yeah.
I did never said they weren't going to be, but I think they were even a little better than I thought.
Yeah.
And playing the number 3 team in the country as close as they did is awfully impressive.
I mean, the transfer portal took a lot away from them, and then it gave right back the same way the transfer portal does for everyone. Um, and they really just did look solid offensively and defensively. They held a lot of the stuff that Oregon was trying to do in check for the most part. Um, a lot of these games where they stay close, it feels like the favored team is always in control, even though the scoreboard doesn't really show that.
Yeah.
Um, so for the all the parts of this game that we actually watched, I felt like Oregon was going to win no matter what,
Yeah.
but it was like, are they going to blow them out as much as they should be?
Yeah. I
Again,
mean, this wasn't even close. What was the line? Something insane.
I think it was like 23 and a half.
Oh,
No,
I think it was
42 and a half,
yeah,
right? Yeah,
yeah.
42 and a
It
half.
was a
It was a
ridiculous
huge
line,
one.
which I mean, honestly, Oregon did. I mean, they went in there and they threw the ball 50 times compared to 37 rushing attempts. So I
Mhm.
think they saw something maybe on that Idaho defensive. Oh, here we go again.
And we're back to the pop-up ads.
Yeah.
Here
How
we
do
go. Thank you, ESPN.
you get
Um,
out of this?
just hit back.
Anyway, yeah. So Oregon is pretty good, but Idaho really kept this one from getting out of hand,
Hmm.
which is, in my book, fairly impressive.
Yeah. I mean, it was similar to. I wasn't really like the NDSU game because it did feel like NDSU had a chance to win that game
Yeah,
through a large portion of it.
right.
Um, if a few plays like that interception don't go the way for NDSU, then it would be a little bit different.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what I was getting at there. I went down a rabbit hole that I was not prepared to exit out the other side of.
Yeah. Up next, we have a couple games that, I mean, they were just, they're not even hardly worth talking about.
Yeah.
Washington State absolutely waxed Portland State 70-30. Feel like we expected that.
Yep.
And Northern Arizona beat this Lincoln, California 66-6. So,
Pretty sure this is a high school team at this point. That's kind of
yeah.
what we've landed on was that they were playing against Lincoln, California High School,
Yeah.
and they won 66-6.
So, yeah, sorry, Lincoln, California. That is a pretty bad showing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we picked those two, right? And next we have UC Davis at Cal.
Yeah.
And that was an interesting game because UC Davis up until halftime kept that very close.
Yep.
Very, very close. And UC Davis looked quite good. Honestly, Cal just looked terrible at the beginning of the game though. I
Mhm.
mean, they really did not act like they were ready for, they didn't act like they were ready for the game, honestly.
Yeah.
But Lan Larison, that dude's good.
Yeah.
He is exactly as advertised. The only thing I'll say about UC Davis is I'm not sure the quarterback play is there for UC Davis. The thing I notice most about them is that, especially when they're throwing the ball, Lan Larison was almost always open, and the broadcasters were noting that too in the game that, oh, Lan Larison on,
Yep.
these drag routes was just always open, and the quarterback was never finding him.
Yeah.
So,
That would be the big thing that holds them back, I think, throughout the entire season. It's all gonna because their rush game is super solid, right?
yeah,
They
yeah,
have a super solid rush game. They're gonna need to hit Land Larson every single time he's open. You can't let a wide receiver like that run down the field
yeah.
and not get the ball to him.
Yeah, honestly, you have a player like him, he needs to be involved on almost every play.
Hmm.
But, I kind of thought the score would have been a little closer
Yeah.
in this one. It got a little out of hand for UC Davis after halftime. Cal made some adjustments apparently and pretty much steamrolled them.
It was kind of the same story we saw in a majority of these FBS versus FCS games. It stays close in the first half. It looks like there might be an interesting game. Then it was a blowout in the second half.
Right. Yeah, that's essentially Yeah, and it's the same with our next game, Idaho State, Oregon State. That was extremely close at halftime. 17-9 at halftime. Idaho State looked their defense looked better than I thought that they would, and they just got ran down. I think I just
Hmm.
that FBS to FCS level difference in physique or whatever you want to call it on the players. Oregon State just they went into halftime, made some adjustments, and never looked back.
This was a stretch of very confusing games to watch on the
Yeah,
broadcast
yeah,
because you had UC Davis versus Cal, who have the same colors, pretty much,
yeah,
just reversed a little bit. And then you had Idaho State and Oregon State, who have exactly the same colors,
yeah,
just
yeah,
reversed. So it was like they were playing scrimmages against their own team,
yeah,
is what it looked like out there on the field.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Oregon State ended up really pulling away from Idaho State there. Next game, Northern Colorado, Incarnate Word.
Yeah.
Picked Incarnate Word.
Sorry, Bears.
Didn't watch any of that game, but Incarnate Word, you know, pretty much ran away with it.
Northern Colorado, if you are listening to this slash watching it, I still believe in you. Okay. And I will keep believing in you no matter what. You will get that win one day. And I will be the one that picked you on the day that you do get that win.
Yeah. Uh,
Oopsie on this next one.
yeah. So San Diego beat Cal Poly. So we gave apparently little to no credit to Cal Poly, and that was still too much.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I feel especially stupid on this one because I was fully picking San Diego until like the final 10 seconds of us making that pick. And then I flipped as soon as we found out that they were actually an FCS school and not an FBS school.
I do think so. This is another game we didn't watch,
Yeah.
but uh, looks like San Diego had 2 pick sixes in this game. So you take
Mhm.
those away, Cal Poly, would win. But
Yeah.
yeah, Cal Poly not so good.
Sorry, Cal Poly.
I
But we were rooting for you
yeah. I mean,
without watching the game at all.
you had that
You know.
6 p.m. kickoff.
Yeah. We were with you in spirit, and you
Yeah,
did kick off at 6 p.m. in San Diego at the Torero Stadium.
yeah,
Um, should we skip down to Weber State before we get to the Montana teams?
yeah, yeah. Let's
All right.
Weber State, Washington. This is honestly, I thought Weber State would have a little more of a showing.
Yeah. And I don't think I didn't watch a single play of this
No,
game. Was it going on at the same time? I think it
yeah,
was going
I'm
against
sure.
the same time as the Cats game. So we don't know if Seabass made an impact in this game. Possibly he could have. Um, but 35-3, I think everybody on the roster for Washington probably played at some point during this
Yeah,
game.
yeah. It was never close, and apparently shame on me for giving a little credit to Weber State. I really did think that they'd be able to, not get completely blown out, but
Mhm.
yeah, that's that one. You want to talk about the Cats or the Grizz next?
Let's talk about the Grizz first, and
All
then we'll
right.
move on to the Cat game, and we can finish up from there.
We'll get our disappointment out of the way first.
It was super disappointing. We were looking through this thing. Eric got a win for his Phillies,
Yes,
and then at the time the Grizz were down. And so, what were you telling me right before we started watching the Cat game?
it could have been my trifecta of a perfect sporting day. I get a Phillies win, a Grizzly loss, and a Bobcat win all in the same day. I mean, that doesn't happen very often, and I really would have been happy.
And the thing is, if you hit 2 out of 3 on the parlay, doesn't matter.
Nope,
Doesn't
nope.
matter. Two
It's
out of
all
three
or
on the
nothing.
parlay does not matter.
All or nothing. But yeah, Montana may have overestimated Missouri State a little bit. I mean, they did drop that line from
Mhm.
right before the game from 17 and a half to 13 and a half.
Yep.
So Vegas must have known something we didn't. But I do know that, there was no Junior Bergen on the field.
Mhm.
That Cole Grossman, their tight end, he didn't even suit up, I don't think. And I think they had a DN that didn't suit up either. So they were missing a few pieces. But overall, honestly, the team was pretty much intact. And, they benched Khalil Aliyat at halftime,
Yep.
brought out that Logan Fife. I don't know if that's what we're going to see from here on out. I don't think either one of them had a horrendous game. I
Right.
mean, what Fife did pretty good, but I don't think Ayat had a. I mean, we were watching the Cat game too,
Yeah.
so going back and forth. But uh, Eli Gilman looked good, I guess. So
It was a very confusing game for the Grizzlies. Just
yeah,
because as we keep going back and forth, all of a sudden we switch back. There's a new quarterback in. Not really sure what happened there. The big thing that I took away from this game was how just chippy that Missouri State was.
yeah,
Like
dude.
they had some fight in them. They showed up to play a game, and this is another very confusing uniform matchup because they were both named after bears and they both were maroon. So it was very confusing for me. I had a hard time. My brain did not want to figure out this game, and Missouri State looked very solid throughout most of it. Um, we definitely underestimated them because we had no idea who they were. But also, I have to say, after all the talk we were hearing from Grizz fans and fans across the country, like different FCS teams fans, about us not covering the spread, come on, Grizzlies.
Yeah,
You don't cover the spread versus Missouri State. Like, we didn't cover the spread versus University of New Mexico.
yeah,
That is a whole different thing than not covering the spread against Missouri State.
yeah, yeah. Um, you know, I'm not sure what to take from the Grizzlies on this. I mean, I really find it hard to believe that they could only win by 5 over Missouri State, but you know, apparently Missouri State, they're either a lot better than they were expected to be, or the Grizzlies just aren't quite as good. I do know that the Grizzlies secondary has a few questions to answer because
Yeah.
that 84 receiver for Missouri State seemed like that guy was always finding ways to get open with a subpar quarterback. I mean, that like you Ben mentioned during the Grizz game that guy really likes to throw right behind his wide receivers.
He was really good, and sometimes throwing behind them was the right move,
Yeah,
but it was every single time.
yeah, yeah. He wasn't having a lot of luck leading guys. It just seemed like they were always behind. But that
Yep.
84 for Missouri State really he was making some plays. And
Yep.
apparently Missouri State is going FBS, so good luck to them because they are going to
Yeah.
be garbage.
That would be a tough. Were they going into Conference USA?
Yep.
Was that it? Yeah,
Yeah.
Conference USA doesn't have a ton of talent in it,
No.
but it's still an FBS conference, so it's going to be difficult for them.
Yeah.
My big question is, what are the Grizzlies doing in training camp? Where they never know who their quarterback's going to be for the first game? Or is it just a Bobby Hauck mind game that he's playing with all of us so
I,
that
don't-
we believe that they don't have a quarterback until halfway through the season?
I honestly don't know, man. I feel like so we should be the last people to talk considering we ran two quarterbacks for 2 years. But I really feel like, you know, when Sean Chambers was in the game for the Cats, it was almost always going to be a run.
So
These guys are just they're gonna throw the ball from and
they're two similar quarterbacks.
yeah, they
It's not
are.
a two QB system, it's that they don't have a quarterback
Yeah,
right now.
so you have to be on the receivers and the offense has to be on the exact same page with two different quarterbacks, and it's hard enough to be on the same page with one.
Yeah. It's not cohesive at all. It looked very similar to the Grizz teams of early last year.
Yeah,
So I don't want to get too high and mighty about it because of what happened last year. But at the same time, it's looking very disorganized.
yeah,
But if anything is true from what we saw the last few years, it will get organized throughout the season. But at this moment, I do not see any reason why the Grizz should be ranked above the Cats in the Big Sky or in the national polls. I don't see why we would be four in their three.
yeah. When it comes to rankings, I feel like somebody has to lose to get moved.
Yeah.
So I think that the rankings next week will reflect exactly what they were before: SDSU, NDSU, Montana, Montana State.
Hmm.
Idaho probably ends up moving up a bit because
Yeah.
even though they shouldn't factor in an FBS loss at all, but they looked really good.
Yeah.
And SDSU deserves the number one spot until they lose in the FCS
Yeah.
because they've earned that.
Oh,
So
yeah.
all the keyboard warrior NDSU fans can pump the brakes a little bit because you ain't number one. when you have your head to head with South Dakota State, and if you win, then you can have your number one.
Yeah.
But until then, no dice.
Just statistically number one.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I just think it is comparable when it comes to the Cats and the Grizz.
Yeah.
I understand like we're not even getting to the regular season stuff, but when you look at the way that Montana played Missouri State, a similar way to what Montana State played New Mexico, and then they go and they blow out Utah Tech in a game where it didn't feel like it was close at all.
No.
I feel like that deserves to move you up one rung.
Yeah. Especially this is really this the biggest thing I think for the Montana Missouri State game is that isn't a quality win.
No.
They squeaked out a win because their defense finally figured it out there at the end of the fourth quarter. They're going to have to blow everyone else out because if the Cats if they keep winning, strength of schedule is really going to come in, and they really, really needed a big win over Missouri State.
Mm-hmm.
And UND for the Grizzlies next week, that is
That's
starting.
a tough team.
UND only let Iowa State score 21 points, I think.
Yeah.
So, granted, that I don't even think they scored any points, but they kept a fairly decent Big 12 team in check.
Yeah.
So,
I think that this next week for the Grizz is one of their most important weeks when it comes to playoff seeding.
yeah. Yeah. And Rocco Beck for Iowa State Cyclones is twice the quarterback either one of the Grizzly quarterbacks are. But he's very talented.
Mm-hmm.
So, UND, I talked a lot of trash on them. So I'm gonna put that in my take backs.
Yeah.
But yeah, Montana has some things to figure out, which is what these first game of the seasons are for. So
Yeah.
I guess we'll see what they take away from this.
Yeah.
Other than Eli Gilman is exactly as what we thought he was. So
He's going to be trouble.
yeah,
I hope that he hits the transfer portal because I don't want to have to deal with it
yeah,
for
yeah,
3 more years right now, basically.
yep, yep,
We're 1 game into the season, so it's still 3 years of
yeah,
Eli Gilman, and he is super good.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. So yeah, that's kind of all. That's kind of all there is to talk about Montana. I can get that bad taste out of my mouth now. Next one is Montana State at Utah Tech, and this was, I mean, the Cats got off to a slow start, but it was, I mean, Utah Tech didn't even get a first down until the fourth quarter, so
yeah.
it was not close ever. Uh, I'm not sure why they got off to a slow start. Honestly, I think, I mean, when you actually start looking at the Utah Tech roster,
Mhm.
and the announcers for that game they left something to be desired. But they were very good about noting how many FBS transfers they had. A
Yeah.
bunch of them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they had the quarterback from Iowa. They had the wide receiver from San Jose State. They had a DB from Colorado. I mean, they had all kinds of FBS transfers. I, enough to make you wonder why they're so non-competitive, I guess.
Yeah.
And their punter is a dog.
I feel like they were getting FBS transfers just because they were called FBS transfers.
Yeah.
Like it didn't seem
Yeah.
like anybody was super talented out there. The quarterback had a hell of an arm, but he was so inaccurate. He couldn't
Yeah.
do anything with it. Um,
Yeah.
we got on the same exact play again. The
Yeah.
only time that Utah Tech scored a touchdown in this, it was that same type of misdirection and then the quarterback around the outside.
Yeah, which that guy took 24 yards to the house is impressive because I mean, even the announcers are like, "Oh, I wonder if he caught his breath yet," because he is a big boy.
Yeah.
He's
He's
a
more used to taking 24 wings to the house
yeah,
than he is taking 24 yards to the house.
yeah,
That's for sure.
yeah. No, I mean, and granted that touchdown run they had that was against our third and fourth string
Yeah.
defense. There was no starters left out there.
It still didn't make me any less pissed off that I
No,
didn't get the spread because of
yeah,
some random touchdown by a
yeah,
large human being running 24 yards down the field.
yeah,
Like, come on, catch that guy.
yeah.
It's for my pocketbook. It's what
So
really matters here.
but not hitting the spread was pretty disappointing. Unfortunately, the spread hits if we don't miss 2 field goals.
Yeah, that's also true.
So I feel
Also
like
true.
we got to get this little bugaboo off our backs right here, right
Yeah.
now. This is a first-time kicker. He's a young kid.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he obviously has had no problem with extra points,
Yep.
which I'm really thankful for because we struggled with that sometimes last year.
Yep.
hoping that this is just you know, I, I'm hoping it's a one-time thing.
I feel like they were putting him in situations to kick the ball
Yeah.
and get some in-game reps to get kind of the speed of everything. And he did hit the third one.
Yes, he did. A
So,
28 yarder, I believe.
yeah.
So he did get that one.
So he
So he's
started to figure it out. And everything else special teams was phenomenal.
yes, yeah. Special
We were
teams is good.
amazing on special teams outside of those 2 field goals.
Brendan Hall's punt. Oh my gosh.
That
It
one
was
that
at the end of the
stopped.
game. There
Yeah.
wasn't there was really nothing to really cheer for at that point anymore. I mean, it was such it was not close. And he booted that ball all the way
Yeah.
down. They thought they were cute, trying to fake it up the front so it'd go in the end zone, and it just stops at the 2.
Yeah.
Just dead in its
Perfect.
tracks. It was
Perfect.
an ideal punt. So Brendan Hall just continues to impress. I mean, the dude is gonna play on Sundays.
I've never seen a punter flex on somebody so hard
Yeah, and
just by sticking the ball right at like the 2-yard line.
we did get a mention on the broadcast about how tall he is too.
Yep. He's 6'9".
He's
Remember
six
that,
nine.
everybody. He is
Yeah,
6'9".
yeah.
Also, favorite thing about the broadcast, Tommy Malot's new nickname, the Master Puppeteer.
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
know if that was from somewhere else
I don't know.
or if they just came up with that on the spot. I don't think somebody else called him that. Maybe like Gregorak did one time last year
Yeah,
or
maybe.
something like that. Because it does sound a little bit familiar, but at the same time, this announcing staff that they had on this game, this broadcast crew, was top tier.
Oh my
They didn't
gosh.
say anything right, but everything they said was funny,
I
and
mean,
that's what you need.
they messed up everybody on the roster, and you could tell they weren't very prepared for this because they'd say,
No.
"Oh, this number 10 or whatever does this," and then they give like a 30-second pause while they go through the roster, find him, and then read his name off.
Yeah.
And they were still messing. I don't know how many times they called uh, Jones Humphrey or
Yeah.
vice versa.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they were also calling like what was the big one at the end? Oh, they said that it was McCade O'Reilly
yeah,
when it was
yeah.
actually Bryce Grebe that was
That was
down on the
hurt.
field for a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, and they were, "Oh, yeah, the Big Sky Defensive Player of the Week is down on the field, and they can't afford that." But McCade O'Reilly is clearly standing right over the top of Bryce Grebe checking on him.
Yeah, we're like, okay, we're fine. We're fine.
Yeah.
Stop panicking for a second. Stop panicking. Everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah. Back to so, I think these Heat games are really taking their toll on this team. They go to New Mexico. I was at that game. It was so hot.
Yeah.
95 degrees at where I was sitting. I don't even want to know how it felt on the field. And then again, they moved kickoff for this game from 7 to 8 o'clock because of the heat index down there. So we saw it again. These cramping issues. We had it. Humphrey went down in New Mexico. He was cramping like crazy.
Yep.
This time we had it with Tommy Milan. And Tommy had both calves cramp up on him, and every one of us was freaking out when
It's like,
he
no,
was down.
not again. Not again, no.
But then after a little bit of reflection time, we realized that, if he hurt his knee or something, they would not be stretching out his legs.
Yeah.
And
That would not be the rehab for that situation.
no, no, they would not be, rubbing him down and stretching him like that if he had done something substantial to himself. So it looks like crisis averted with Tommy. Really hoping he gets better quick. Sounds like it was just severe cramping in his calves.
Yeah.
Um, the other thing to note is that we did get a bit of a slow start in this game. I mean,
Hmm.
I say slow start. It was 14-0. Relatively quick, but it it just took a while for that passing attack for the Cats to really round into form, I guess.
Yeah.
Kind of like it did with just essentially first quarter is never going to be a passing quarter for the Bobcats.
No.
They're just it's almost like they need to feel the defense out for a quarter before they can really put the metal to them. I don't know. But
I wanted to see more because it felt like we threw the ball a lot more against New Mexico.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then it kind of got dialed back this week, and it was a lot of run, which we are great at. And
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
fine with like what you have to do to win is what you have to do to win. And so it's really nitpicking when we get down to this. But at the same time, when we're playing against somebody like Utah Tech, I want to see Tommy try and sling it. And we did see him throw probably the longest pass that we've ever seen him throw.
yeah.
He threw it from about midfield and out through, I want to say Hunter Province. Was that the one in the end zone? He threw it
Yeah,
about 5 yards
yep.
into the end
It
zone from
was
the 50-yard
it
line.
was
So,
to Aiden Garrigan, I think.
oh, Aiden Garrigan.
Yeah.
Yep, yep, yep. You're right.
Um, but the turning point for the passing game is Rohan Jones.
Yeah,
He just seems to be finding his place in this offense more and more as we see him play. He had a pretty good game in New Mexico, but he had a really nice night
yep,
in St. George, Utah last night.
yeah,
He is extremely talented and his balance is incredible. I mean, that guy can work a sideline,
yeah.
keeps his feet in. And yeah, I'm really impressed with Rohan Jones's, and he was the leading receiver, 4 catches for 66 and a touchdown with a long of 45. So pretty impressive from this kid.
And he's not being great in the ways that we were expecting him to be.
Right.
Because we were thinking this was going to be a red zone target, filling in that Derek Snell role, and he's really not that. He's really a large wide receiver
Yeah.
with incredible balance, as you mentioned. He's got personality.
Yeah.
Seems like a great teammate, a great guy to be around. Seems like he gets along with everybody, even though he's been there for what, 3, 4 months now.
Yeah.
Just instantly clicks with people. And just has integrated himself into the offense in 2 games.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
2 games, he's gone from somebody who was like listed as what, the second or third
Yeah,
tight end. No, he was
he was
listed as
as
the
a
first fullback.
fullback. Yeah.
He goes from the first fullback to looking like the number one tight end in 2 weeks. So he
There's
is a very good player.
there is definite chemistry between him and Tommy, no
Yeah.
doubt. Those guys are really clicking, and that's really nice to see. We didn't get a I mean, we got the starting offense until I mean they pulled Humphrey and Adam Jones. I mean, honestly, fairly early. I think.
Yeah.
But like we said, this was never a close game.
Yeah.
The defense. Oh my gosh, the defense. They
Killers.
they looked extremely good.
Yeah.
That was extremely impressive. I mean, Rylan Ornt was all over the field. Uh, Danny Yu was a factor from the very first snap. Very, very impressed with those guys. Caden Dowler had an incredible play there. Like I don't know, it was probably third quarter or so. He just happened to be in the right place and got that guy on
Hmm.
a kind of a screen there. But yeah,
Super good tackle for loss. They lost like 3 yards on that play, and there was a lot of pressure all over the place. Um, the the secondary was covering everybody super tight. Um, it seemed like Utah Tech didn't have anywhere to go. Even
yeah,
if they had, they didn't even see any opportunities out there because there really weren't any.
right, yeah. Um, the other thing to note is that the Bobcats had almost twice the rushing yards that Utah Tech had total yards.
Yeah,
Utah Tech had 176 total yards. The Bobcats had 329 rushing yards.
that's not even including all of the rushing yards that got taken away
Oh gosh,
because
yeah,
of all of the holding calls that were very much questionable in a lot of situations.
yeah.
The refing in whatever it is, the United Athletic Conference. I am so glad we never have to see a refing crew from the United Athletic Conference. Hopefully, ever again.
Yeah, they really did their best to wipe out the chunk plays from Adam Jones and Humphrey. It was
Hmm.
I don't know how many. What was it? 3 50-yard runs they wiped out.
Yeah,
Um, but all of our running backs they're awfully impressive.
yeah.
All the way down. I mean, Humphrey looked great. Tommy on I mean, his read option was on point tonight. He was
Hmm.
really reading those plays well and really, I mean, the times that he chose to keep the ball, the one was a long touchdown. So
Yeah,
that was great to see, 47-yard touchdown run. but really didn't take a lot of punishment
No.
on his. So he was really, really making good decisions with the football when it came to the read option there. But yeah, Adam Jones, great game, another great game. Jared White, he was pretty darn effective, and Colson
Mhm.
Kuhn in his limited playing time looked really good.
Yeah.
I mean, this is an incredibly deep running back room, and we knew that.
Yep.
But it just, I mean, Jared White got featured in pretty much the entire second half, and then Kuhn came in the fourth quarter, and
Also ran very well.
yeah, so
You know.
we're still missing our best running back right now. So, I mean, this is a very good feeling.
And right now it's looking like 1A, 1B, 1C.
Yeah, I'd
Because
say the exact same thing.
between Scott Trey Humphrey, Adam Jones, and Julius Davis, there's not a whole lot of difference.
Yeah.
Like you are talking slightly better in some aspects of the game versus each other.
Well, the best thing about the three guys that you just listed is they're downhill runners with breakaway speed and excellent vision.
Yeah.
And honestly, the offensive line run blocking it is as good, if not better than last year.
Yeah.
It's
There's
impressive.
gigantic holes all over that field.
And
I'm
they're
surprised nobody's fallen in yet.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy that I mean, these guys, it's not if, it's when they break a big one.
Yeah.
I mean, and we saw that against New Mexico. I mean, a stout FBS team, they were breaking big chunk plays on
Yeah.
them too. So really good to see. I'd like to see a little more in the passing game. I
Oh yeah.
feel like maybe I don't know. We have 3 games to really figure this out before the stretch run starts.
Our dude Ty McCullough did not get involved in this game as much as we would like to see.
Yeah,
Which it wasn't necessary. Like this is also not a huge criticism because it wasn't like we needed to force the
no,
passing game,
no.
but it's just something that we would enjoy seeing a little bit more,
Yeah,
you know.
and Ty McCullough is he is the leader of this team,
Mhm.
and for on him to only really get one chance at a ball,
Yep.
I feel like he, for these and when if we're talking about this game for these blowouts, I really love to see him get his.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Get it, get some make some magic and then get off the field. But
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really have any criticisms of the offense on a whole. I thought that they were the Tyler Walker was creative in spots,
Oh yeah.
and I like utilizing some of this wildcat.
That triple option wildcat play
Yeah,
where we got that. I think we got a touchdown off that, or got right down to the goal line.
yeah,
I can't remember exactly. I think that was one of the ones where we got. No, that was Tommy's touchdown.
yeah.
So yeah,
I like the idea of working on things, trying things
mhm,
out, seeing if it works, and maybe maybe next time we can look a little more at the passing game and see. But if you can run for 329 yards, why would you ever throw the ball? I guess is
yeah,
probably what they're thinking.
yeah. I'm sure it is. And like I said when I started off that whole line, it's it's just something that we know is always going to be there.
Yeah,
So against Utah Tech, I want to see him work on the passing game a little bit more and integrating that, which is what I felt like they did against New Mexico, and it worked fairly well. Like it was a rocky start,
yeah,
don't get me wrong, but then the passes started to connect, and then it turned into drives. And then those game-winning drives that we had at the end of that New Mexico game, those were an integration of the run and the pass perfectly,
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
And I was hoping to see that for 4 quarters rather than going to, okay, we're going to run this 4 times, run this 4 times, run this 4 times,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. And I guess if there's urgency, they'll always go a little more pass heavy.
Yeah.
But I mean, I kind of feel like these games now are more of a chance to practice,
Yeah.
and it would be cool to see them, practice some of these pass plays a little bit while we're watching in game.
Yeah.
But once again, if you're rushing for 329 yards, why would you ever throw it?
And also, I'm just thinking about it now. I may be a total idiot because the entire point of this might be that they're trying to put as little on film as possible.
Yeah, it
Because
could
you
be.
can put as many times as you want run up the middle on film, and they're still going to have to stop you man to man on the line, which is what we're going to be counting on in a lot of situations.
Yeah. Um, I guess, yeah, on the offense, I really I really just don't have any critiques. I know I've seen a lot of posts on Facebook and social media about them letting Tommy take it into the end zone, but honestly, he didn't take that much punishment going
No.
in. I mean, people can say they're going to say whatever they want, but Tommy made the right read.
Yeah.
And he got into the end zone and he didn't get hit that hard and it's cramping, so, it's better, but I thought that was the right play,
Yeah.
honestly.
He made the correct read on that play. He didn't take that much of a hit. Like we said, it was just cramping. I think there was 2 times during the game where I felt like he could have slid, but he didn't take a lot of punishment on those hits either.
No, no, no. Um, yeah, so offense looked pretty darn good, running backs unbelievable. Special teams, other than the missed kicks, Brendan Hall's on point. Taco Dowler is a legit return threat. That guy is fun to watch in the return. If he gets a
Yep.
chance, you better watch out because he, I mean, he almost broke 2 touchdowns on punt returns.
Yep.
And granted, this is against a Utah Tech team, but I mean, if you give Taco a chance with the ball in his hands, that guy is talented.
He's deadly back there and he's so quick. It seems like he had one bad return where he turned around and lost a few yards.
Yeah.
But outside of that, every single time it was minimum 15 yards.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, defense, unbelievable. I mean, they, like we said earlier, didn't allow a first down till the
Yeah.
fourth quarter. That is so impressive. And this is starting to nitpick at hairs. I would really like to see him get a takeaway or a turnover.
Yeah. It is kind of concerning that we've gone 2 games and not had a single turnover of any kind.
I can't remember if they got one in New Mexico now. They might have.
They didn't.
But I feel like this group is so talented. I mean, I feel like we should have some interceptions, maybe forcing some fumbles.
Mhm.
But once again, I mean, they are. This is a talented group that just took an FCS team and made them not get a first down till the fourth quarter. That
Yeah.
is unbelievable. I mean, that Andy Day had that punter for Utah Tech had 10 punts.
Yeah.
So
Double-digit punts in a game is not good.
no,
And it might be a testament to how inaccurate Utah Tech's quarterback was
yeah,
that we didn't get any interceptions.
yes, that's
Because
true.
every pass was such an uncatchable ball that it
Yeah,
was impossible for them to get any interceptions.
but gosh, man, our DBs, those guys are extremely talented.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that Utah Tech has some very good receivers. I mean, 2 of them are from the FBS, and they might not have got a lot of playing time in the FBS, but they were good enough to be on FBS squads at one point. So these guys didn't give them an inch. I mean, it was nothing until we had our 3rd and 4th string guys in. I mean, pretty much the entire defense when they finally started catching some balls was guys who weren't even on the 2 deep roster.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the defense is really good. I really like that. And what I really liked is they didn't push, those guys were getting their jobs done and then getting out of the game
Mhm.
in a blowout.
I feel like this whole not having a turnover isn't even really a criticism, because I would guarantee that it's a lot of what's being said in the locker room by the players as well.
Yeah.
They're going out this
Yeah.
next week and they're going to be looking at each other like, "Hey, let's get one from them this time."
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's time for us to take the ball away from them at least once, you know?
Yeah. And we'll say it right now. Ben will shotgun a beer for every takeaway the Bobcat defense has.
We will be at the game.
Yeah.
So I don't know how many people want to see that, but for every turnover, I would be willing to do that. We can put it up on the Instagram and everything. I'll shotgun a beer per turnover. We can lock it in right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So if anyone on the defense is listening to this podcast, there you go.
There's your motivation.
If you get one, beers are getting shotgun.
Yeah.
You're
And I'm
happy, we're
sure once
happy.
you get to like 3 or 4, Eric will probably join me for one.
Yeah.
You know? He'll probably start feeling bad about it during like the 3rd or 4th one. That's when he kind of breaks down and he just joins me. This is how the games go for us every single time, pretty much.
Yeah.
What was it last night? He turns to me. Game just kicked off. Eric goes, "Okay, so every time the Cats score, you're gonna drink, and every time Utah Tech scores, I'm gonna drink." Every single time.
Yeah.
We
So,
don't play those games around here.
but yeah, if anyone on the defense is listening, there we go.
There's your motivation.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
little extra on top of actually. I mean, it's way more fun, I'm sure, to get an interception or a fumble recovery than it is to watch one of us shotgun a beer. But
A little icing on top.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
like a couple sprinkles. It's not even the icing
yeah,
on the cake. It's like if you added 2 little sprinkles in the corner.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So, yeah. What do you have anything else on the game?
No, I'm not thinking of anything else we noticed throughout the game. Like you said, overall very solid performance. Special teams played phenomenal outside of those 2 field goals.
Yeah,
Defense just held them on everything. They
yeah,
they didn't have an opportunity to do anything. Offense did what the offense does every single week. Consistency is key with this team. Um, that's kind of what I feel like Brett Vegan brings to
mm-hmm,
his teams as a coach. He's not a super powerful speaker, but he's always firm and consistent and steady. He's
yeah,
rock solid all the time. I
yeah,
never feel like he's wavering. I never feel like he's ever getting intimidated by anybody or he's ever truly scared of any matchup. He is always going to be steady and firm the entire time.
yeah. And he has, I mean, if there was any question, that man believes in run the damn ball.
Yeah, he definitely
He
do.
believes in
He
that.
believes in the Don Joy Mafia,
Yes, he
and
does.
I would too. Like,
I mean, gosh, man, this is, you know, 2 games now into the season. Our running back room is unbelievable, yet injured.
yeah,
Somehow I mean, we're injured at running back right now, and it's still unbelievably good. The offensive
hmm
line is unbelievable, but injured. I mean,
yeah,
imagine in 6 weeks what this rushing attack is going to look like with Julius Davis leading the charge and a fully, get JT Reed back, get
yeah.
uh, Ju- Julius
Just
Perkins back, or not Julius,
Justice
Justice Perkins.
Perkins,
There we go.
Julius Davis,
Julius
Justice Perkins.
Davis,
You're doing
Justice
the same thing
Perkins.
I did last week with the offensive line.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we get these 2 guys back and a fully healthy, fully cohesive offensive line.
hmm
Man, almost brings a tear to my eye.
It's a solid team. There was one more thing that towards the end of the game that I really wanted to see, and when they brought in Jordan Reed, I just wanted to see him throw the ball a little bit
Yeah,
more.
yeah.
I think he had 1 pass attempt,
3, it looks
3
like.
pass attempts. Okay,
Yeah.
so he had 3 pass
But
attempts while
0
he
for
was
3.
in. 0 for 3.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see him get more chances because I'm not saying that 0 and 3 was bad for him. I'm just saying I wanted to see him get into a rhythm, see what he can do out of the pocket because
Yeah.
he is a very tall, long quarterback, and I wanted to see what he can do throwing from the pocket. Maybe add another dimension to the team, or just a preview for the future.
Yeah.
You know.
It would be nice to see what he can bring to the table a little bit more,
hmm
especially he is, for the most part, pretty unknown.
Yeah.
I mean, in all honesty, I mean, we've relied so heavily on Tommy Malott that Jordan Reed is a bit of an enigma.
Yeah.
And, it would be cool to see him get some meaningful playing time in some of these. I mean, we're expecting blowouts. They might not be. I mean,
Yeah.
Maine could be better than we're thinking, but I mean, I would sure think it's going to be a blowout, and it'd be kind of cool to see some of these reserves really show what they can do a
I
little
think
more.
the last time we got to see Jordan Reed play a full series or 2 was the last Utah Tech game.
I think it was at
So,
Gold Rush.
yeah, that's kinda tough for it to be the only situation where we're watching him play. I
Yeah,
just wanna see a little bit more, you know? They give
yeah,
me a little taste,
yeah,
and now I wanna know more about him.
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of a recap on everything.
Mhm.
Great win for the Bobcats. We are in sole possession of first place in the Big Sky Conference at 2-0, and only 3 teams in the Big Sky Conference have a winning record. So,
That's it. You know? There you go. We beat them Trailblazers bad,
yeah,
let me tell you.
yeah, yeah.
Beat those Trailblazers. Um, did you wanna talk a little bit about Maine, or should we can save that for later on in the week,
Yeah, we'll
right?
save that for later.
Okay. We'll save all of Rohan Jones' homecoming party
Yeah.
for later this week. We'll probably catch you guys on Wednesday or Thursday. Um, Probably Wednesday this week, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
Wednesday this week, Wednesday night we'll be recording. Um, Thanks everybody for listening over
Yeah,
these last 2 weeks.
yeah,
We had our highest played episode on Apple ever
yeah.
from the New
Let's
Mexico episode
go.
last Sunday.
Yeah.
So thanks everybody for listening. Thanks to the followers that we've picked up, it means a lot. Um, we're happy to be picking up some momentum because honestly, opening up this season, I don't think either of us knew
Yeah.
what it was going to be like. If people were going to come back to start listening again, or if we had just been completely forgotten about. So we really appreciate it that people are listening and enjoying the show.
Yeah. Yeah. We love to do it and love that people actually want to listen to us.
Yeah.
So let's go.
Yeah. So make sure you rate this 5 stars wherever you are listening to this at. That is the one thing that we're a little bit behind on. You
Yeah.
know, comparing us to the other podcast who shall not be named,
Yeah.
they have a few more rankings, a few more ratings on Apple and Spotify than us. So if we could catch up to them and get some more 5-star ratings on there, that would be amazing. Go ahead and follow us on X or Instagram at CatsPod. And just thanks once again.
Yep.
And if you have feedback, give us feedback. If you have questions, ask us questions. You know, questions are always best. I love it when we have questions from people outside of the two of us to talk about during our episodes
Yeah, me too.
because that makes it even more interesting because we come up with questions for each other, but that's about it, you know? And most of the time we agree.
Yeah.
So that's a
Yeah.
problem, you know?
Yeah. We need some some opposing views to add us.
Yep.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Are you looking for some bad responses? Is that what you're going for here?
or some differing opinions.
Some differing opinions,
Yeah.
some intellectual arguments, you
Yes.
know,
Yes.
some respectful arguments, please. Respectful arguments only. Disrespectful arguments will be made fun of.
Yes.
Um, that is about it. Thanks
Yeah.
everybody for listening. Hope everybody has a great week, and we will be looking forward to Gold Rush next weekend.
Let's go. I can't wait.
It's going to be super exciting. We'll both be there in the stadium, ready to meet everybody, meet and greet. We'll probably have some stickers or something.
Yeah.
You know, we'll have to get those together by next week.
Yep. We'll have stickers.
Yeah. There you go. Free stickers if you see the Cats Pod, guys. And
Yep.
I will be wearing an obnoxious gold jersey that my brother got me for Christmas last year. And it is loud. So everybody in the stadium is going to know exactly where I am, either because I am shotgunning a beer for a turnover or because I'm wearing a ridiculous bright gold jersey.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
All right. Have a great week, everybody.
Adios.